name is Tiffany, and today I'm going to show you how to make a faux leather magnet, just like this one out of Sculpey clay. Now, you don't have to make a magnet out of this technique. Your imagination is limitless as far as how many ways you can use this, but we're going to start off with Sculpey clay, regular, original Sculpey clay. It comes in a box, and it comes in layers like this. What you want to do is you want to take off a chunk of it and start working it with your hands. And you want to make sure that it's the right consistency. The reason you do this is because right now it's crumbling and falling to pieces, and conditioning it like this will make it the same consistency so that when you cook it, it won't flake apart, it won't break, it'll be a lot stronger product. So this is what you're looking for, but as I said, it will take quite a few minutes with very warm hands to get it to this consistency from this. You can also reuse clay, as we're doing today. This is clay that I've already used for various other cookie cutter projects, and you take the scrap and you reuse it, you put it in this lump again, and it's ready to go again. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to roll this out to about 1/4 inch of thickness, so we can make a magnet. You can also make keychains, pendants, all kinds of things out of this thickness in this particular project. Right now we're gonna roll it smooth. I use a marble rolling pin because it's very heavy, and it just kind of gets the job done a lot quicker. It is a lot more work though. Some people do use a pasta machine, but I found with the original Sculpey, it's just a little too soft. It doesn't go through very well. And you can't control kind of the shape or the size of what you're doing when you're using a pasta machine. Right now, if I wanted to, I could roll out a sheet as big as this table and just make quick and easy work of it. And I think that's better with the rolling pin. So right now we've got it to about 1/4 inch of thickness, and we are going to start creating something with it. Because I'm showing you how to make a textured product, we're going to start with the texture first before we even have our pattern down, just to make it easier to make multiple copies. So right now, in order to make that aged leather look with the crinkles, we're going to take a piece of regular old tin foil, and we're going to make a kind of a cylinder with it. And this is an extremely cheap process because you just don't need anything special for it. Just a piece of tin foil, and you roll it over the entire sheet. And depending on your preference, sometimes you might just want a little bit of texture and you don't do that much, or you can put a lot on so that the entire thing is covered. And that's pretty much what I'm doing now. I'm making sure it's covered because I like that. I like it a lot. And so once you get the textured thing, you can take out your cookie cutters. Today we're using a mushroom, but you can do anything. Since it's the holiday season, I got Santa boots and little angels. But today we're doing a mushroom. So this is the easy part. You just cut out what you need, and it goes like that. So once you got what you want, you can pull up the excess, and it should leave. That one got a little bit ruined. Sometimes you do ruin them. And then all this extra, you can just roll out again and make different copies. But today we're doing simple things, so. I like to add stitches to this to make it look really, really like leather, and I started out using a pen, which you can also do, but I've graduated to this clay tool. It's just a little metal ball at the end of a stick. It makes it a little rounder. You want to go around the edge of the piece as if a sewing machine is going around it, and you make sure that the dots that you're punching are vaguely the same distance apart so that it does look like it's machine made, and it adds this lovely little effect to it. Makes it a little more realistic. I have had people pick up these clay pieces really thinking that they were leather. It's amazing what you can do. After you do the outside, it's really up to you what design you want to put on the cookie cutter. Personally, for the mushrooms, I like to make the stalk of the mushroom a separate piece, so I'll put a line there. And you can make it look as if it's quilted and just put random pieces on it. You can leave it like that. Personally, with these mushrooms, I really like to add dots to them. So just like a toadstool, I will freehand just dots. And I'll paint these later and it will look as if they're patches. And I really like how that comes out. But in the end, this is how it shows up. And we're going to pop it in the oven and cook it at 275 for 15 minutes according to the package. Honestly, I leave it in the oven a little longer because I think it makes it a little harder. So I would honestly maybe half an hour, keep it in the oven. At the end of that, you'll have something like this. This is not a mushroom, but it is a heart. It's the same process, and it's hard. It's just hard after you get done cooking it. From there, all you have to do is start painting it. Today, I'm using metallic paints to paint it, but you don't have to. You can use, if you're doing the leathering technique, a lot of things look really good and a lot of things look really bad, and unfortunately, you're just going to have to experiment to figure out what works best for you. And when you're painting these, it depends on the paint you're using, but as you can see with this metallic paint, you're going to have to put several layers on it to make it solid. This metallic paint is probably the worst. I've had to use up to 4 coats on it before, and you have to wait for it to dry in between. So this means it's more work. You can use acrylic paints just as you would use on a poster or something like that. Those tend to be thicker and you tend to only need 1 to 2 coats of those. But, you know, it depends what you're going for. Once you're done painting them, you put them aside and obviously you let it dry. You can add extra coats to make it solid. But I think you all know what painting is like, so I'm just going to go this far with this one. At the end, you'll have something like this. Back to the mushrooms. And again, this could use another layer of paint on the stalk, and I wanted to add white to the top. This is why you need 2 layers of paint. This is actually already 2 layers of paint. It needs a 3rd. At the end of that, to make it look textured, to give it that lovely leathering, this is what we do. We're going to take an already painted article and do something a little scary. We're going to take metallic bronze paint and we're going to just cover it. This is scary because it's going to look awful for a little bit. You're just going to take all this and it's going to look like you're just making it look really, really bad for a second. It's kind of scary because if you put a lot of work into painting it more complicated than this, then this is just kind of nerve-wracking. You want to make sure that this brown gets into every little crevice. You want to make sure it gets into every little stitch because that's what it does. It's to make it look aged and it's to highlight the details you put on it, which is the texturing and the stitch work. And of course you want to do the edges so that everything is in unison. After you get done painting it like this, it'll be completely covered. And what you want to do after it's completely covered is take it off, which you just need a paper towel for that. And you just want to pat it off. And in the end, it'll look like this. It'll look as if the little stitch marks are brown, as if it's aged leather. So the interesting thing about this is I learned with the metallic paints it doesn't look like leather at all, but it does look like candy tin foil wrapper. So we're going to do that with a metallic piece here. We're going to cover it again. You don't want to slack with this. You want to use as much paint as you need so it does get into every little crevice. If it doesn't cover it all the way, it's not as impressive as an effect. Yeah. And as I said, that beautiful little doggy is now this gross little brown thing. So, make sure that the sides are covered once again. Make sure the legs are all done. This is a messy process. You will get your hands messy. If you're not one of those people that enjoys a good mess, then this probably isn't the project for you. But we're going to take the brown off with a paper towel. And as you can see now, this looks a lot less like leather and a lot more like the candy tinfoil wrappers that you get at like Christmas or Easter. It's still very shiny, and once we apply a glaze, it'll be much shinier. Like a Hershey wrapper or something. So after we get done with that, of course, we let it dry. And once we let it dry, we want to put glaze on it. The reason you want to put glaze on it is so that it protects the paint, it protects the color from fading, from staining, from really anything bad that could happen to it, but it also gives this a lovely professional shine to it. I use Sculpey glaze. Sculpey makes their own glaze for their own clay, and it works very well. It looks a bit like glue when you put it on, and depending how shiny you want it, you can add a thick layer or a thin layer. It doesn't really matter. It just depends on how shiny you want it and how thick you want it. So again, you want to paint the edges because you want those edges to be protected as well. And if you're painting an ornament or something like that, of course you'd probably want to paint both sides as well as glaze both sides. So when it's all glazed, it will look like that. The white will come out, it will look like it's covered in glue, and that will dry clear and shiny. So once it's glazed, it will look something like this. And this is a lovely little sleigh that we did for Christmas, and it's very shiny. If you don't want it shiny, there are matte glazes out there, or you can decide not to put a glaze on it at all, but I would to protect it. Since we're doing magnets today, I'm using model airplane glue to glue on these magnets. It's called E6000. You know, it's very, very strong stuff. You want to put a dab on the back there. The magnets I'm using are very kind of hardcore magnets. They're very strong because I'm making a product that I want to last for a while. You don't have to. You can go to the craft store and get those little strips or whatever. But these I like because they'll actually hold up the clay now. I don't have to worry about them falling off the fridge. They're called X-Bet magnets. They come in a box of 100, and they're, gosh, I don't know, 10, 17 cents a piece, something like that. We're going to put it on the back with this glue. I'm just going to push it in, and we're just going to let it dry. Now I have found if you're doing a whole batch of these, you do not want them close to each other because these magnets are so strong that they'll move on the glue towards each other and end up off your sleigh or whatever you're working on. And then you'll have a finished magnet, and your end product will be something like this. These are some of the ones that I've done earlier. This is the one I showed you at the beginning of the video, but as you can see, you can use any cookie cutter. This one's a little owl, and that's great fun. These are the ones I started out with that really looks like faux leather. This one's quite thick, as you can see. I kind of like that. You can make them thick or thin, and you can have a lot of fun. This is a little bookworm. And as I said, the ones that are metallic will look more like candy wrappers. So at the end of the day, this is a really fun technique. It's an easy technique. It's a cheap technique. And you can go in all different directions with it. It's great fun. So I hope you learned something, and I hope this is interesting to you. I guess we have our magnets made now. So thank you for watching.